welcome into another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Super excited to be with you. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're outside mowing the lawn, maybe you're grilling, maybe you're finally got a moment to sit back, relax, listen to your favorite podcast, or maybe you're changing dirty diapers and you just needed a stress relief to help you get through that. We're here for you for whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, however you're listening. Thanks for tuning in. I'm super excited to be with you, super excited to be your host, as always. Today, I have an incredible guest who's making a profound impact on the lives of teenagers and their families. Coach Kevin Baker is a certified professional life coach who specializes in empowering teens to overcome limiting beliefs, become self-aware, and most importantly, discover true happiness in their lives. With a compelling philosophy that life happens in the mind, Kevin guides young adults through the often turbulent journey of adolescence in our fast-paced digital world. Drawing from his own life experience and his role as a parent, he's dedicated to nurturing self-esteem, confidence, and resilience in the next generation. In this episode, we're going to dive into Kevin's unique approach to coaching teens, explore the challenges they face today, and discuss how we as parents can foster open communication and trust with our children. So we got a lot on the table today. So whether you're a young dad like me or like I was once upon a time, still am, a parent looking for guidance, or someone interested in the well-being of today's youth, this conversation is going to be packed with valuable insights and practical advice. So make sure you grab a juice box, grab a snack, grab a seat, get comfy, and let's welcome Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the show.
We have
Thank
lots
you.
covered. I hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot to jump in, and we're going to jump right in with one of my favorite questions I like to ask people. I started asking this question when I started reformatting YDP not too long ago. And it kind of starts us off nice and hot, which I like starting off nice and hot. What's a hill that you're willing to die on when it comes to coaching teenagers and empowering them to find true happiness?
A hill that I'm willing to die on, the one that tries to show them that their internal narrative, most of the time, is lying to them. And the voice that they hear in their heads, everybody's got this voice, this internal narrative. That's not a fact. A lot of the times, what that voice tells us is not a fact. And we need to ask ourselves that question. Is that a fact? That's the most important thing.
It is. It 100% is. Because we have to question ourselves, right? It's important to question ourselves. It's important to question those voices in our head and ask, is this real? Why am I thinking that thought? Why am I feeling this way? And be able to have that level of self-awareness. I like to phrase that for different people I work with. So I work in mental health. If the listener wasn't aware, I have a master's in psychology, so I'm a master's level mental health clinician. And so a lot of times I often will work with clients and whatnot on asking themselves just why, and trying to find that why did you do that? Why did you think that was a good idea? Why are you telling yourself that? Why are you doing that? And trying to get them to start thinking about these patterns that are happening in life, or they're thinking about these actions that they're taking, or thinking about the way that the parents may be parenting, or thinking about the way that things may be happening around them. Okay, why are they happening that way? Because a lot of time, from what I've seen, is that we are really, 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 really good as people to point the finger outwards. We can very easily point it outwards. So I can say, oh, well, Kevin pissed me off, and that was not cool to Kevin. But okay, so why did you get pissed off at what Kevin said? Well, because Kevin said it in a mean tone. Okay, but why did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Well, because he made me. No. Why did you, kind of thing? So
yeah, you can't make no one can make you feel anyway. You're the one that has that feeling. 100%. So and the answer to your why is emotions. It's all about the emotion that they're feeling. Because when they feel pissed off, when they feel angry, it's because that's how they processed that piece of input that came in to them. Whether it's through their ears, something I said, through their eyes, something they saw, something they touched, something they smelled, whatever sense brought that input into them that made them feel that way, they had an immediate perception once they processed that input. And that perception they had is based on their belief system and their thoughts and events that they've experienced potentially traumatic events that have happened in their lives, that when they got that piece of input through their senses, they processed it a certain way in their supercomputer brain, and it gave them an emotion. And the emotion drives everything. It drives the actions and the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to regulate that, process that emotion, and be aware that, oh, that that upset me. And it upset me because I had this experience, and that's how I'm processing that information.
Exactly. And that's, like you mentioned, that's the belief system. That's what you believe about yourself. That's what you've been told to believe about yourself, about the world, about how your emotions play a role in your life. And pretty much another way you can think about that is like the training that you've had up to this point, the training that you've had in handling complex emotions, the training that you've had in reacting, the training that you had in doing all these things, different things that adults and people up to that point have told you, okay, no, that's either may or may not have told you, like, okay, that was an appropriate way to handle, or maybe that wasn't an appropriate way to handle, but you didn't know that because that's all you knew, or maybe no one ever corrected it. So you thought, yeah, that's fine. That's great. And so this belief system is very interesting, a very interesting topic, because I feel like most kids now, Gen Z, they're coming out of high school, they're going into the workforce, and so we're thinking older teenagers, so older adolescents transitioning into adulthood kind of age. Like they're at this age, and they have no belief system. They have no foundation. A lot of them, not all of them,
They have to believe in something.
but I feel like they don't believe in anything. Like they don't truly believe in anything. Like there's no belief, because they'll fall for absolutely anything that they're fed and told. A big portion of them will fall for anything that they believe that they're told. They'll go along with the status quo too easily. And so there's not enough of a foundation out there, at least from what I've seen, that there's just not enough of a solid foundation out there for our kids to build on. There's just not enough substance coming from home. There's not enough coming from parents. There's not enough coming from schools, from their education, from their hobbies or interests, from the people in their lives. They're not getting enough to build a strong foundation that can guide them to make high-level choices as they transition into adulthood.
That's very interesting.
What are your thoughts on belief systems?
Yeah,
And
my thoughts are that, that generation, just about, older teens about to enter the workforce, they grew up with, technology and iPads, and they have been receiving, over the previous 18 years of their lives, they've been drinking from a fire hose as far as information goes. And so maybe there's just been too much noise coming at them to have them really be able to sit down and focus. And no one has, maybe no one at home, maybe no one at school, maybe no one in their lives have sat down with them to really talk about, values and what's important. And there's just too much noise going on, which is a distraction, and maybe one of the reasons why you feel like they have no foundation, no core beliefs. But the beliefs that I'm talking about are most of the time with that age group, and I love working with that age group. I love 18-year-olds, and I even love working with up to 30-year-olds, because most of their beliefs, what's holding them back, are negative beliefs. They're limiting beliefs. They're deconstructive thoughts. They're thoughts that are, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or, someone's going to judge me for what I want to do. And those are the beliefs that we need to start to become aware of, those thoughts. So that's how I think we can help them, is by sitting down with them and asking them, what's holding you back? And if we get the answer to that question and get them to process it, through their own subconscious, then I think they can start to be aware of their belief system and and then we can dig into why it's that way. But first off, it's important to change that thought, to change it from "I'm not good enough" to, "You know what? Actually, with practice, I can be one of the best." Again, to
Yeah.
realize that anything they can think about, they can accomplish and they can do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's limiting beliefs are a huge part of this, right? Because maybe there was no one at home, maybe there was no one around them. Maybe they were raised in just a straight echo chamber of ideas. So when they did get
Mhm.
into the workforce, now they're having their ideas and things valued. And like, oh, well, that way I was raised doesn't really make sense, kind of thing. Or that way I was taught that doesn't really make sense. So now I'm confused. And now that doesn't make sense. So now this part of me doesn't make sense, kind of thing. So then those limiting beliefs can continue to happen. And I think we're all filled with those limiting beliefs in some way, shape, or form that stem from somewhere earlier on in life, right? Because
Parents,
either
preachers, and teachers. That's where they come from.
from where were the three again?
Somebody told you can't do that. Parents, preachers, and teachers.
Okay.
Somebody told them they can't do something, or you're not going to be good enough. And it only starts with a small seed. When you plant it, and when you continue to think that way over and over, you start to think that it's fact,
Mhm.
but it's actually not fact, because I know that you can do anything, and no one told them that. No one told them they can do anything they want to do if they put their mind to it. No one told them, like, you're great, you're good enough, you can do this. Like, they didn't have a cheerleader, they didn't have a coach, they didn't have someone to reinforce uh, positivity, because the power of positivity is incredible. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole thing we can get into. I don't know
Yeah,
how much time we have. Yeah, but
there's a
yeah,
whole spin-off on that. All right, so two-part question here. That kind of leads us into the next way I want to take. So we're gonna steer away from that rabbit hole.
okay, yeah,
But go ahead and share kind of what inspired you to get into this work,
yeah,
working with teens and whatnot,
yeah,
and what made you want to focus on this particular age group. And
mhm,
also, let's go ahead and jump into your philosophy, because
yeah,
we're touching on it. We're kind of scraping the surface here a
mhm,
little bit. That life happens in the mind.
mhm.
So go ahead and enter both parts of that
Yeah.
for me.
So first off, what drove me into this fantastic world of helping people is that I had a about 3 years ago, I had a come to Jesus moment, I want to call it, where I'm trying to figure out, you know, what are we supposed to be doing with our time here on earth, and what's the meaning of life. And I came up with, and I don't think I have it 100% right yet, but I think I'm getting there, and that is to have the greatest positive impact on as many people as possible while I'm here on this planet. And I started focusing on working with teenagers and young adults, because I myself have had tremendous positive impact from many adults and mentors, and older family members, cousins, teammates, people that I worked with. I started working young, and I had all these great people in my life that cheered me on, and gave me positive impact and coached me through, from the age of 13 to I still talk to these people, today. So I've had that tremendous impact on myself, and I want to be that for other people. I need to pay that forward. I love being a mentor. I love talking through things with people, and building rapport, and learning about people, and figuring out, like, how does their mind work, and what is it that they need to get over in order to be the best version of themselves. And when I see someone start to take off on that trajectory, after we talk, I'm like, yeah, I did good today. And it makes me feel good.
Definitely.
And then, as far as life happens in the mind, well, that's it. We tell ourselves a story. Like, over the years, we've had various inputs through many different sources, and all those little inputs are pieces of a story. And we tell ourselves a story about who we are, what we can do, what we can't do, why this happened, why that happened. And the story is not a fact. The story based on our inputs that we've had over life, things people have said to us, things that have happened in our lives, different relationships we have a way of thinking. And every single minute of our lives, there are, I think the stat is 2,500 pieces of information that are all around us in every minute of our life. But our brain can only process 250 pieces of the 2,500 pieces of information. So we're processing 2,500 pieces of information through our senses based on our belief system that has been shaped by our inputs. And so our perception of the 2,500 pieces of information that are coming in is very skewed, and everybody's got a different perception of what's actually happening. So when you can dig down into that and figure out, well, why do you have a perception of what's happening right now? Well, it's because I had this experience when I was 6 years old, and that gave me the thought, and that gave me the idea that when this happens, that's what it means. If this happens, the appropriate response is this, or whatever that piece of information is. So so now we have this story in our mind, based on like 10% of the actual information that we're getting in life. And to be aware of that and to be able to retrain our mind to process information differently when it comes in, it changes the story.
Definitely. No, I think that's really cool why you got into this in the first place. Because it is important to tell people, right? I believe that we should always be trying our best to help others. We're here on this earth to help other people. We're here to support them. We're here to support each other. We're here to make each other better. We're here to help each other grow. It's just what we should be doing as humans. That's what we're here for. And then the idea and the concept of your philosophy is very simple. We were kind of scratching on it as well. We're kind of getting into it. And we are thrown so much information in a day. We're thrown so much information at once. I remember at work, we sat through a 2-day training where we just sat and we read through a freaking manual. Didn't retain jack dilly squat of it. We were trying to tell, hey, none of us are going to remember this. This is great information, but none of us are going to remember this. None of us, we don't even have time to digest this. We're blasting through this handbook. We're blasting through these pages of, technical jargon and, insurance speak and all this just bleh.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just all the fun stuff, all the jargon, right? Yeah. And then we're expected to retain it, know it, go with it moving forward, which is all good and well. Yes, we did review it, but did we grasp it? Some probably better than others. Myself, I can always go back and look at this handbook if I have questions. If I have questions, I can go back and look at this handbook. It's not that hard. But others, really, really struggled with that way of learning, because that's just, having to read 100-something pages of this handbook is not easy for everyone. It's not everyone's favorite way to learn. When we're just sitting in a room and forced to popcorn read, it's not fun. So I get that 100%. And so then we start to, it's very easy in that moment for us as adults, even we're all sitting there, to feel like, oh man, this is overwhelming. This is a lot. This is a lot more than I thought I signed up for. This is a lot more that makes sense to me. This, what happened was that it made a lot of people quit. It made a lot of people rethink kind of what they're doing because of knowing all this stuff and going into this and learning and things like that, and just how the situation was handled and stuff was just really poor overall. But it happens, and it was the people who quit were expected to anyways, I would say. There was rumors and things like that, rumblings, but still, there's probably more ideas that were reinforced through that training, and those ideas stem from somewhere in their life previous. It all stems from somewhere, and so we create these narratives in our head. That's how I like to think of them. We think of these narratives. Think of these narratives to why we can't do something, right? To why something's more difficult for us, to why we react a certain way. It all comes from somewhere, but it's essentially it's not an excuse, right? It's not. We can understand the concept of why we're doing these things, but there's also a responsibility that has to be taken at the same time,
Mm.
right?
So
You
did you
can't
have a
just.
narrative? Like, did you have an internal narrative when you had to read that handbook? Like, what was going on in your mind?
I was just checked out. I was just reading it, just read it, because I had to. That was my narrative in my head. I was like, okay, we're just gonna get through this. We're just gonna power through. This is all stuff that I'm personally aware of. If there's anything new, great. I'll dog ear the page, come back, read it later. If not, I'm just gonna participate and get through this and check my mind out and just get through it kind of thing.
So the people that were like, I can't do this, what was their narrative? Like, did you talk to them about that? Like, did you ask them why?
All of it was coworkers that were around me. They would say, "Hey, we need breaks so we can process this. We need, this is too much. There's too much information. None of us are going to retain this," and things like that. So I didn't ask them why they felt that way because I mean, everyone learns different. But at the same time, I feel it's these narratives that we have in our head. It's our responsibility to own up to them. We
Mhm.
have to accept them. We have to work through them, and we can't just say, yes, there's a narrative there, yes, it's crafted, that's my why, but there's also some responsibility that comes with that. So how, when it comes to taking that responsibility and that challenge of that, how can you help work through it with parents and kids?
Well, first with the parents, I first sit down with the parents for initial consultation before I chat with any young adult. Unless the client's over the age of 18. So we talk about the results that the parents want to see, and we talk about what do they want? Do they want to make more friends? Do they want the kid to get better grades? Do they want them to be more um, financially savvy or healthy, or what's the thing the parents are looking to get out of coaching? And then I meet with the young adult, and we make friends, and we start to talk about life and what they like and what their passions are, and we dig into what's holding them back, and what's the thing that's keeping them from achieving their goals. We do a number of exercises and talk about their vision and who they want to be, and what their life is going to look like, and what's the ideal life that they want to build for themselves. And we visualize that, and then we talk about anything that might be in their way, including that internal narrative, including those thoughts. And a lot of the time, in speaking with the young adults, we come up with the really top three. It's either I'm never going to make it, or I'm not good enough. Somebody's going to judge me. And those are the top three. And why they have those thoughts is what we get into. So why do you think you're never going to make it? Well, I saw this thing on social media, and all my friends are they're on yachts and crystal blue waters, popping champagne bottles, and I'm never gonna make it, never gonna get that. That's never gonna be. Or they have somebody at one time told them that they couldn't do something, that they couldn't be something, that their life couldn't be the thing they wanted it to be. Like, maybe when they were 3 years old, they were outside playing in the sandbox, and they were building something, and somebody said, this is my mansion, and somebody said, oh, you're never gonna have a mansion, and that was their thought. And now they're never gonna have a mansion. They're never gonna have the thing they wanted to have. So that input started it planted the seed, created the neural pathway, and over the years, after having that thought over and over and over again, I'm never gonna have it, I'm never gonna get enough, I'm never gonna get a mansion. That's when it really gets ingrained in their minds. So what we have to do is take that thought that happens in that neural pathway, and we have to start thinking the opposite, and we have to start building up the muscle, because for every negative thought you have to think a positive thought of the opposite, like 5 times as many times as the negative thought, to actually make the negative one go away. And so it's like going to the gym, but for mental health, and we need to focus on the positive and then rewire our brains so we can get over that negative thought, that neural pathway, that seed that was planted 15 years ago. And then, then I talked to the parents about, what they're seeing in their kiddo, what they would want to see. And we make sure that we're all speaking the same language, because most of the time, the parents just want the kid to be happy, and the kid wants to be successful and make their parents happy. So it's really figuring out, what does success mean to you, mom and dad, parent, guardian? What does that really mean to you? What does happiness mean? Well, yeah, we just want to be happy. Okay. Well, you know what's going to make him happy? What do you think is going to make him happy? Them following their vision, having goals, finding their passions, and then going out and making it happen. Like, that's what's going to make the kid happy. So, like, fostering that and understanding that, kids are really smart, and they know what they want to go, and they want to make parents happy. And parents just need to be a cheerleader, and a confidant and a guide, and be there when they have questions.
Definitely.
Not try and like push anything on them, or guide them in a direction they don't want to go, because if you pick the future for your kid, like, you're going to own that.
Yeah.
Now it's your problem. It's not it's your problem.
I agree with a lot of that. So I don't want to say I'm confused, because I'm not confused. I don't want to say I have an issue, because I don't have an issue here. But there's a thought I keep having, is that why did it get to the point to where these parents decided they needed to bring you in as a coach to help them foster and develop these conversations, and to have this support and things like that? Like, I don't want to say where did they go wrong, because I don't think they've done anything wrong either. So it's
No.
a very confusing way what I'm trying to ask here. But if we as parents would take the time to have these conversations about hobbies, interests, talents, what do you want to be in life, where do you want to go, and that starts from an earlier age, you essentially wouldn't be doing what you do then, because there wouldn't be a need for it,
Maybe so.
essentially.
Yeah.
But why do you feel it is that so many parents are lacking these skills and lacking this?
I think parents are under pressure.
Mhm.
I think parents are stressed out and have way too many thoughts going on in their minds about how their kid, and if they're not doing exactly the thing that they think the kid is supposed to be doing, that the parent's a failure. And they get really frustrated, and they get confused, and they know there's a problem, because there's a lack of motivation, and the kid's not smiling every day, and they're not getting good grades, and parents are confused, and they know the problem's out there, and then they look for a solution. And so, I'm like a part of that solution, right?
Mhm.
So, and why is it happening? I think it's happening because parents, the only way parents know how to parent is by how their parents parented them.
Mhm.
And their parents learned how to parent because of how their parents parented them. And we have this like generational, pass down of
Mhm.
parental habits and traits and characteristics that, some of that stuff might have been created in like the year 1850,
Yeah. No,
and it's 2025 almost right now.
Mhm.
So, and with the information and the new brains, the information superhighway, when that all came into play, like, it all ended up in a lot of people's heads. And so there's so many thoughts and so many inputs that are out there that sometimes there's a lot of noise. And when there's so much noise, it's really hard to be aware of the little things that are happening, and why exactly they're happening. And so
Now
I think parents need to be, um, parents, it's a tough job. It's a
Mhm.
tough job. And sometimes we need a reset. Sometimes parents just need to throw all the rules out the window, and start fresh, and build up that relationship, because the kid knows the rules. They know between right and wrong.
Mhm.
And so it's important to to be aware of the dynamics of that relationship and how things have changed over time and where we are now and where we're going.
Definitely. No, I hear that. And there's a ton of noise in our world, right? There's a ton of noise. There's a ton of things being thrown at us. If you go into your screen, you can click between 15 apps in 15 seconds if you really wanted to, right? You could go from a Google browser, you could ask ChatGPT 5 questions, you could then go to Facebook, Instagram, then you could scroll on Twitter, and then you could go to Threads, and then you can go
and
here,
look
here,
down
here,
and see
here.
like a billion notifications.
Yeah, 100%. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff being thrown at us as
Yeah.
parents, let alone, things being thrown at us on a daily basis. There's work and all the things that include with work. So that's another highway that we jump on. And then you go with that into a relationship as well that you're trying to do. And then you're trying to raise kids and then all the things too. Like there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of responsibility. There is a lot on the plate. But I feel it boils down to a couple things here. How present are we with our kids? How present are we trying to be with our kids? Because I feel like that presence, and that's actually being truly present. You're not present in a room if you're just present and you're on your phone and they're watching TV. That's not present. That's sitting in the same room. Presence is interaction. Present is interacting together, playing a game, cooking a meal together, eating together, whatever that looks like, without other distraction. Really unplugging and doing that. Going to do things that are unplugging kind of event. Maybe it's camping. Maybe it's going to an amusement park for a day, so you have to lock your phone up so you don't lose it, kind of thing. And you're forced to just be together, kind of thing.
Forced family fun,
forced family fun, exactly. But that's present. That's where those conversations start to build. That's kind of like that reset you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
you have to force it. You have to force it sometimes. You have to force that conversation to come out. You have to force those times, and you also have to find the times where you can also squeeze some of that out. Car ride to school, car ride home at the end of the day, car ride to the store. Car is a great place to have those conversations because yes, it's a short period, but then it's private. It's just you two. You're not distracted because you're just driving, so you can have a conversation and whatnot. So there's always opportunities around us, but a lot of it I feel comes down to present. If we can be more present with our kids, we can be more engaging with them, having conversation. There's some really good card games, and not a sponsor, but over on Temu, there's some really good card games for conversation starting questions that ask their different age ranges. Some get really, really deep, a lot of different categories. Some are very simple. I use them as a therapy tool. They're really great questions just to have some big conversation. And if you don't know where to start, well, get a prompt. Start somewhere. But I feel like a lot of parents do have the skills. They also have the time. They just don't. They're just not. Maybe there's probably a limiting belief there too, right? It's like, oh, I don't have the time or I don't have the skills because I'm always busy. I'm always working, or they're at school, or they're this and all that, yada yada yada. And so it's hard to mesh those two. But yes, you may not just have the time readily available, but you have to make the time.
Yeah,
You
not
have to be
having time is
intentional
actually
about
a
the time.
limiting. Not having time is a limiting belief, actually.
It is 100%, and you
It's
have to
actually
make
not
the
fact.
time.
Yeah,
Not
it's
at all.
not
You
fact.
have the time. You're just choosing it to do something else.
It's an
My
excuse.
favorite, exactly. My favorite thing to look at is like, okay, how much screen time are you getting per day, and what hours are you getting your screen time? If you're getting your screen time you're not hardly having any between 9 and 5 while you're working, but there's a rather large uptick between
Actually,
5 and
they're
9.
probably getting plenty of screen time while they're working. Actually, they probably don't need any more when they
Yeah,
get home.
100% there, right? I agree with that, but there's the phone screen time was what
I hear
I'm
you.
meaning
I
here.
know. But
We
who needs
pull up
that,
our screen
really?
time
Do you
report.
really need it? Do you really need it?
Yeah. Who in your home needs your time more? Your phone or your family? But it's a very simple choice when it comes down to that.
And
Very
the
obvious
beauty of
choice.
it is like if these folks have kiddos that they're defiant, if they don't want to do something, if they're not doing their chores, they're not coming down for dinner on time, whatever it is that you want them to do that they're not doing. The only way to solve that is to connect with them. Like the yelling's not going to work, the punishment's not going to work. Threats not going to work. The only way to do that is to become their friend and to connect with them. And that's actually the only way to fix the problem is connection.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's especially important to connect with our yes, podcast kitty.
I love her. Yeah. Cute.
It's blue. She was making a ruckus down by my feet, so I wanted to grab her. She was trying to get my attention. But yeah, but no, it's important. Like our kids to have defiance and whatnot. It's super important to have that connection because that connection means everything to them. But you can also think of when your kids are being defiant if they don't have like a diagnosed like defiance disorder, like ODD or conduct disorder or something. You can also think of that as just a way that they're trying to express, hey, I have an unmet need.
Mm.
My unmet need is you. So I'm acting up this way to try and get your attention because it's the only way that I can get your attention.
It's
So we can
actually a
have some kind.
communication. It's
100%.
communication. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying here, is that it's communication. So your kids are acting a certain way because they have an unmet need. So they're trying to communicate, I have that unmet need because they don't have the words to say, hey, Dad, I have a need that I need you to meet. No kid has that language because they don't have a fully developed brain. And so they use behavior as communication. So it's very important to pay attention to your kids' behavior. If they're acting out, doing these kind of things, well, there's an unmet need somewhere. Unless there actually is an underlying diagnosis that needs to be treated at a professional level, then that's
Yeah.
one thing in itself. Then go and do that. But if you're like, man, my kid's been more defiant lately, or man, they've been talking back a lot more, or they've been doing this or that a lot more, then that's them trying to say that they need something from you and they need you to engage with them. They're trying to ask for your help. They're trying to ask for your support in some way, shape, or form. They just don't know. They don't have the words to do that. So they're doing it with their behavior. So it's very important to pay attention to. Very important. Let's see. We have a choice to make. I could ask you just a couple questions, just for quick question answers, or we can jump into the back end of this. Your choice.
Hey, you're driving, man. It's up to you.
All right, we're going to take a quick turn here. Let's just do some quick question answers here. This has been a great conversation, kind of topics we dove into here. But these are some quick question answer things. So what are some unique challenges that teenagers face in today's digital age? Like some of those hurdles that they're facing to overcome.
The peer pressure, number one. They're on the thing, and in the digital age, everybody's got a device. Everybody's got something. Everybody's always looking to get something else and upgrade, and I feel like that's a major challenge for kids to be able to realize that we don't need all that stuff, and everybody's parents are giving them different rules on screen time, and they shouldn't, if they have different rules than their friends. It's okay. It's just they shouldn't feel bad about it. But the most important thing is they need to realize is that whatever's happening on that device is not real life, and they can use those devices to do productive things and learn and educate and also socialize, and play, but it's not real life.
Yeah,
And I think
no, I
that's
agree.
important to remember.
I think both those things are important. Peer pressure is huge. I see it as low as the elementary level. In my work that I do, like it's, oh well, so and so was doing it, so I did it. It's like, okay, well, is that how? And I like to ask these, is that how you're taught at home to do things?
Mm.
So I like to always bring it back to home. And when you bring it back to home, kids are like,
Yeah.
no, and they have that realize they go back to that. Okay, so you do understand this concept of what you're doing was wrong. So why are you doing it then? If I call mom and dad right now, if we talk to mom and dad, or if your teacher calls mom and dad right now about what you're doing, is mom and dad going to be pretty disappointed, pretty upset that you're acting this way? They go, yeah, because I know I'm not supposed to, kind of thing. So if you know you're not supposed to, why are you making that choice, kind of thing? So peer pressure is ridiculous, and kids are
It's a big one.
savages, even at the elementary level. Kids are savages.
They are.
It's like so savage. And then social media things, they're not real life. There's no need to compare our lives to each other. My life's not your life, Kevin. And there's that envy and things like that. One of the 10 Commandments. I'm a Bible guy,
Yeah.
Christian guy. We're not supposed to envy.
No.
We're not supposed to covet.
Yeah.
And so there's no point in it because the Bible says we're not supposed to. So why would we? But it doesn't lead to anything productive. If I'm just over here sitting in company, man, I wish I had Kevin's house. Man, I wish I had Kevin's life. Man, I wish I had Kevin's boat. I don't know if you have a boat, but if you did have a boat, I'd be like, man, I want that boat. Man, that's pretty. Oh, the car's so nice. He just got a new car. Oh my gosh, I wish that was me. What is that going to lead to? What's that going to lead to? right? It's going to be
Yeah,
no point. Or
why do you
Kevin,
want those? I think the thing is like, why do you want those things?
yeah, yeah. Why do I want
Like
those
that's the
things?
question. Why do
Do
you
I
even
not
want those
want?
things?
I just want those because yeah, I don't have them. Because you have them, and I want them. They look shiny. They look
Mm,
fun. They look new. I'm stuck driving my, my 2012 Corolla kind of thing.
mm,
Whatever. But I'm not. I don't have the right perspective, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, good. I should be good for Kevin. He just got a new raise at work. He's been working super hard. I'm gonna go over and congratulate him on being able to get a new car because I know that's
mm.
something after talking to him for so long. We've been neighbors for 5 years. Oh, dude, I see you got that new car. Congrats, brother. Like, I'm so proud of you. I know how hard you've been working. Like, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm so proud of you. But then I should also be grateful for my own circumstance. Yeah, I
I
have a
was gonna just
2012
say that.
I should have a 20 I have a 2012 Corolla, but I love it. Yes, a new car would be nice in the future, maybe, but it's not what I need right now. What I
Yeah, you
need
can
right
be
now is
grateful
something
you're
different.
saving, you're saving 50 grand, by driving a car,
Exactly. Exactly.
and actually, it's been said that the smartest people you drive old beat up cars.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
that's like the reframe that has to happen.
Yeah, we gotta reframe our own
Because
minds.
yeah, we need to look at it from all angles.
100%. 100%. Let's see here. Let's go one more. Can you share just one or two the Pacific specific, not Pacific. I live in the Pacific time zone, but specific strategies that you use to help teens overcome limiting beliefs and or build self-esteem and resilience. I don't think we talked
Mm.
on resilience at all, but
Yeah, we haven't talked a little bit about resilience yet, but we can right now. And I think the
yeah,
most important thing about building resilience is to build that self-concept of people. And so how I try one of the strategies that I use is to really call out, we start with the parents because the parents, when I have the initial consult with them, I ask them to tell me, give me like five, characteristics of your kiddo or your young adult, tell me how you see them because I want to start to learn, right? And then we'll ask the student, or the client, tell me about yourself. Tell me about some good characteristics that you have. Well, you're kind and respectful and strong and honest, and you want to help people, and so building up the foundation, like building up the self concept of someone, is what gives them the ability to be resilient. So life is not all like life doesn't go in a straight line
that's
on a
not
graph.
linear.
Like it's
Not
not linear.
linear
No,
at
it goes
all.
up and down, and
Sideways,
it goes sideways and all over the
backwards,
place.
right?
Some
Yeah.
days, some days you're like all the way down here, right? On the chart. And you're like at bottom. And the thing that keeps you from sinking all the way down off the chart is your self-concept. Like it's your values and it's your character traits. And it's those things that make you great that help you bounce back to get up to your peaks. And the thing at the peak, the thing up here that keeps you from going even higher, those are the limiting beliefs. Those are the thoughts that I can't do it, or I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to make it. So if we can build up the self-concept so we don't fall off the chart and kill our limiting beliefs so that sky's the limit, that's how we become the best version of ourselves.
I love that. I think that's important to make sure you always rely on that self concept and you work on that self concept, right? Because that self concept is everything. How you
Every
view
day.
you is more important than how anyone else views you. So making sure you have a good grasp on that, and you work with your kids on grasping that as well, because our kids need to have a good view of themselves. Because then, if they have a really good, strong view of themselves, then it's easier for them to disconnect from social media and be like, "Oh yeah, that's
Mm,
not real. That's not
yeah.
me. That's not my life. That's fake. That's just a picture they took with all those champagne bottles. Guarantee they didn't actually drink from them. Guarantee they didn't actually party that hard. I guarantee they went and got the cheap domestic that was on tap that night, kind of thing. Uh, and then same with peer pressure. Oh yeah, no, I I know myself that well. I'm good. I'm not gonna go to
Mm,
that party. I'm not gonna drink at 17, or I'm not gonna go smoke weed, or I'm not gonna go do this, or I'm not gonna go and knock a girl up at 16, kind of thing. Like, no, that's not me. That's not who I am. So having that concept of self is super important. So,
it is.
uh,
And I think the best way for people to build up that self-concept is to get out of their comfort zone
yes,
and to do something that you don't want to do. The
hundred
thing in
percent.
your life right now that you're thinking about that you don't want to do, That's the thing you got to do. Because
Man,
when you
and
do
that
it, you're going to grow.
100%. Nothing for me was, launching some new additions to the Young Dad podcast feed. Really nervous for how they're going to go. They've been out. By the time this comes out, they'll have been well established and going for a little bit here. But recording this about a week before I launch those new concepts and those new ideas and concepts to the Young Dad podcast feed. So nervous, but those are just thoughts that I had for way too long that I couldn't deny anymore, that
I
I
have them
knew
too.
I
Yeah.
had to act on. So, we got to act on those thoughts that we have and do those things that we got to do. And when we have those thoughts, we got to do them no matter how, scary. But, the best things in life are on the other side of terror. The best things in life are that on
Totally.
the other
I
side
love that. I
of
love
that
that.
door we open. So
Yep.
we got to go on the other side of terror, because the best
Go
things in
through the
life live
door.
right there.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. I'm just gonna bring that beat back real quick for a minute. This beat is from the Podbeat app. It's super great. You can slide it down if you need a little bit quieter. If you need a little bit louder, you can turn it up. Turn it down. You can turn it off. You can adjust it to your beats per minute. You can adjust it to your cadence. The Podbeat app you can download for free from wherever you get your podcasts. Not your podcast. Oh my goodness, wherever you get your apps. But you can use it for any podcast for wherever you get your podcast. You just simply open your podcast player, play your favorite podcast, this one, and then overlay it with the trap beat. That's the trap beat, the swerve trap beat. And it's great. Podbeat's a great tool. And you can also enhance any podcast or audiobook into a musical experience with Podbeat. If you like the hat I got on in the podcast today, if you're over on the YouTube machine, the Rumble machine, or you're watching the video podcast over here on Spotify, you can go and get yourself one by following the link in the description of this episode and my link tree over to Dad Bod Apparel. This is the Dad Vibes hat. You've also seen me wear their Support Your Local Girl Dad hat as well. You've also probably, well, maybe not on the podcast, but in real life, you know me in real life, I also love to rock my Support Your Local Girl Dad tank top as well during the summertime. So it's a little bit cold out now when this is likely to come out. So I'm probably not rocking that outside of home because I'm not crazy. Well, maybe if I'm at the gym. But anyways, go and check that out. You can also find all the other perks, promos, partners of the podcast as well in the description of this episode as well. You can also go over to Patreon. Very last thing here before we wrap up with some fun questions. Very last thing, go over to Patreon. You can become a patron for just as little as $1 a month. If you like these recordings and you want to be in live audience member, you can literally be a live audience member. I'll send you the link. You can join the recording. That's a great perk. You get early access to the episodes. You get exclusive Q&As. You're going to have input on, different things that we may do here with the Young Dad podcast. You'll get access to, like I said, the episodes early. You'll get access to all the shorts that I'm going to post early. You'll get to see Kevin and I banter and all the looks we get to make live while we record the podcast and whichever guest as well. So it's really cool opportunity. Really cool things going there. You can join for just $8 a month or $2 a month to get all the perks and unlock everything. So go over and join Patreon. It's a fantastic place. So let's jump into these easy, fun questions here. Just some fun questions. They're pretty easy too. If you could have any superpower to assist you in coaching teams, what would it be?
Mind reading.
Oh my God, yes. I think that's every parent's superpower they would want. What's one of the most memorable or humorous moments that you've had while coaching with some of your team?
Most memorable is when one of the things kiddo was going through was he'd walk into a room in school, actually classroom, and his internal narrator was telling him that everybody's thinking about him, and we had to talk through that and understand that no, they're all thinking about themselves.
Yeah, very true. As teenagers are. If your life were a book, what would it be titled?
On the spot? Wow. Oof. The Ultimate Journey.
I like it.
Yeah.
I would go Young Dad Adventures.
All right.
Or Adventures of a Young Dad. Something like that. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day of coaching, parenting?
I like to watch my kids play baseball and meditate.
Love that. Perfect. That's a perfect day right there. What advice would you offer? And very last question. This is a question that I ask all guests, all parents, everyone that ever comes on the podcast. It's wrap up questions, what the listeners come for. So without further ado, famous question, YDP, what advice would you offer to a young dad? Let's say he's age 18 to 22. I personally became a dad at 22 years old. So this young dad who's just starting out, what's one or two pieces of advice that you would offer him as he's starting out on his fatherhood journey?
Be your kid's best friend. Be their lawyer, be their cheerleader, be their confidant, and love them unconditionally. Have patience and throw all your expectations about who they're going to be out the window because they already know. Just be there to guide them.
I love that. And the reason I love that is because that's, what dads have been for a long time, right? Go back to 1940s, 1950s, that's what dads did. That's what dads did for many generations before that. They oversaw the tutelage of their children for whatever they wanted to be. They guided them. So I think that's important to just be there, guide them, be their best friend, be everything that they need you to be, and then some. Just be there for them. Be on that train, be on that ride with them. So that's fantastic. Well, Kevin, this has been a great conversation, really fun conversation. Thanks for letting me challenge you a little bit. Thanks for challenging me in return.
Yeah,
it helps us go deeper into these topics. And so go ahead and tell the people where they can find more of you, where they can link up with you, things like that. I'll put it in the description, but for the people that like to hear it, go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Cool. Yeah, it's lifecoachkevin.com. And also on Instagram at lifecoachkevin and on Facebook at Teen Life Coach.
Love it. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. To our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to go to all the platforms that you can get a podcast on. Do the things that you can do to support it. Follow, 5 stars, leave a review, all those things. Over on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, make sure to like, follow, subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment, engage, interact, like, all the things that you know how to do to support your favorite podcast. You know how to do them. We all say the same things, so make sure to do them. And until next time, right here on the Young Dad Podcast, we'll see ya.